You know, I'm not sure there's been any team more negatively affected by the new CBA than the Denver Nuggets. After winning their first NBA championship in franchise history, they have had a very difficult time retaining that championship team. Sure, they've been able to pay Nikola Jokic, pay Jamal Murray, retain Michael Porter Jr., but that's pretty much it. Other than the guys they've drafted during that time, they've lost some major pieces of that team. First being Bruce Brown Jr., not being able to pay him or match the contract that he was offered in free agency, and then this summer, losing KCP, and that's two big parts of that championship team. Two reliable wing players for them and a big part of that depth. And sure, they've been able to partially replace that through Christian Brown, who they have developed, but even if they wanted to, they couldn't have replaced them through free agency, only being allowed to offer veteran minimum contracts, not having access to the mid-level exception or the biannual exception, with them currently being a second apron team. And again, being very negatively affected by that new CBA, and now it's to the point where they might decide to trade another piece of that team, that being Michael Porter Jr., who's actually having a really good year, but might have to be sacrificed for more depth, or maybe a better star player. Right now, MPJ is averaging about 18.5 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, shooting 51% from the field, and about 39% from 3, and that's pretty damn good, but not quite at that all-star level, or that top-tier player that they need beside Nikola Jokic. And with Jamal Murray not really filling that role either, currently having a down year and going through a bit of a slump, and between him and Michael Porter Jr., they're combining to make over $70 million this season, over $80 million next season, and are both under contract until at least 2027. So yeah, that might be a problem, and might cause them to want to make a trade, which apparently they are thinking about right now. According to reports, and this one coming from The Athletic, via Sam Amick and Tony Jones of The Athletic, the Denver Nuggets are a team that are interested in Zach Lavine. According to them, they say that the focus on Lavine in recent discussions is significant, with the Nuggets interested in the 29-year-old who is averaging about 21 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, and shooting very well from the three-point line this season. And well, that's another guy that's making quite a bit of money, under contract this season for about $40 million, next season for about $43 million, and then finally for about $49 million in 2027. And with that being said, would he be an upgrade over Michael Porter Jr., who they would have to trade for him? Well, that'll depend on who you ask, but some people think that he would, and he might be the guy that they're looking to target. But then another problem here is that even if Denver does want to make a deal for Zach Lavine, Chicago might not be willing to make that deal if it involves Zeke Nnaji. According to KC Johnson of Chicago News, he reported that Chicago is not interested in taking back the contract of Zeke Nnaji in a potential Zach Lavine deal. Apparently Zeke Nnaji has no trade value, is viewed as a detriment rather than a trade asset, and not somebody that Chicago wants to take back. And well, with him literally being required to be a part of this deal to make it happen, there is really no other way around it. Either Chicago takes back Zeke Nnaji, or the trade will not be happening. And depending on who you ask, that might be a good thing. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it's a great deal for the Denver Nuggets. I wouldn't say it's a bad deal, maybe a minor upgrade, but maybe not worth risking their team chemistry for a minor upgrade at that. Again, Zach Lavine's a solid player, but maybe not a big enough upgrade over Michael Porter Jr., and then with the contract that would come with him, along with the injury history as well, it might not be worth the risk. Sure, MPJ might have a pretty big contract himself, but so does Zach Lavine after all. They're both signed until 2027, with Lavine having a player option for that year, but he'll be making $8 million per year more than MPJ. So unless you think he's worth more and $8 million per year more than MPJ every year, then you might not want to make that trade, especially if they would have to throw in a draft pick or two. Obviously not first round draft pick, I don't think that Chicago could or would ask for that, but even 2 or 3 second round picks would be quite a lot for the Denver Nuggets, who currently don't have many trade assets to begin with. And again, I personally don't think it would be a great move for them. Not a terrible move, maybe a minor upgrade, but maybe not worth trading MPJ for, who obviously does fit pretty well with their team. And according to a different report, they might be thinking about taking a different route. According to Mark Stein, some within the Nuggets front office believe that the best thing they could do is trading MPJ for multiple players rather than one all-star, meaning about 2 starters, guys like maybe a Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith, who they have been linked to, rather than one star player or borderline star player like Zach Lavine. And in my opinion, that would be by far the best move for them to make. Like I mentioned before, I don't think their problem here happens to be star power or one player alone. It happens to be their depth. Not being able to truly rely on their young guys quite yet. Guys like Julian Strother, Hunter Tyson, maybe they'll be there in a year or two, but not quite reliable yet. And if you take a look at their current rotation, I'd say only about 5 to 7 guys are truly reliable every night, and barely at that, which is very difficult to work with, especially if you're trying to win an NBA championship. I mean, they saw it when they had guys get hurt. Both Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray have dealt with injuries, and they have struggled at times without them. Not being able to truly replace them, not that you can replace a guy like Gordon or Murray ever, but if you have better depth and more proper depth, it's definitely a whole lot easier. And in my opinion, that should be the primary goal for them here, which, like I referred to before, might be able to be addressed through a trade with a team like the Brooklyn Nets. According to reports, they have made both Cameron Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith available for a trade, and this might be one worth looking into for a team like Denver. If they will be trading MPJ, you want to be getting back good defenders for him, obviously guys that can knock down a 3-point shot, and that's what both Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson can do at a very high rate. They're both having a great 3-point shooting season, both shooting above 42% at a very high volume, and then on top of that, are not bad on defense either. And if they will be trading MPJ, you want guys back who are improving their defense and not only their offense, which I think both Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson would do for their team. They're both pretty solid on defense, with that being especially true for Finney-Smith, and then are good 3-point shooters again too. We're talking about a guy like Cam Johnson that is currently putting up about 19 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, and shooting 43% from 3 on nearly 8 attempts per game. So that would replicate and replace what MPJ does to their team fairly well, maybe not quite to that level but pretty damn close, and then improve their defense while doing it. And not to mention throwing in Dorian Finney-Smith, who is putting up about 11 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and shooting 45.2% from 3 while attempting 5.5 of them per game. In my opinion, this would be the best route for them to take. Not saying that they desperately need to trade MPJ, but if they're looking to do that, then they should trade for 2 starters and high-level starters, rather than one star player or a borderline star player that might only be a minor upgrade. With that being said though, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think the Denver Nuggets should trade Michael Porter Jr.? And if you do, who do you think they should trade him for, or what kind of trade should they make involving him? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.